Okay. So this is our pre-event here, and it looks like we are live now. Good. Okay, so it means that everything is working, and we'll wait a minute or two. As I always state, the best things tend to happen, not the best things, but important and fun things tend to happen right before the event. So, and they have, and so we're going to save that for the actual discussion. Unless whoever's tuning in already, we won't disclose what they are, but stay tuned for in a minute. We'll discuss everything. Pistis Sophia. It's going to be fun. Yeah. So fantastic. So how are things over there right now? Are user? Whereabouts are you in relation to each other?
Well, we're kind of across the Bristol Channel from each other now.
Okay.
Kim's in Cardiff.
Okay.
Yeah. Kim's in Cardiff and I'm in Weston, and so we're kind of looking across the sea at each other.
Waving sadly.
Waving sadly, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I hear you for sure. Well, that's neat though that you're in, reasonably close proximity. Kind of. So.
By American standards, yes, we're very close.
By American standards, that's why I say reasonably. So
yeah, it's only like an hour drive for us to visit each other.
Perfect. Yeah, that's nice. That's just enough. Okay.
Although you can't at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, here we are. It's 1 o'clock. So, welcome to our Red Feather Mind Body Spirit live Facebook event. I'm Christopher McClure, and today we have two very special guests, celebrated creators Kim Huggens and Nick Phillips, who are most recently the creators of the Pistis Sophia, the Goddess Tarot. We wanted to catch up today to learn more about this amazing deck, how to use it, and what's ahead. But first, a little background on Kim and Nick. Kim's first deck, the Solf Invictus, the God Tarot, was created and published in 2007 by Schiffer Red Feather with Nick. She's worked on numerous projects with a variety of publishers since, including Tarot 101, Mastering the Art of Reading the Cards, Tarot Illuminati, and Tarot Apocalypse with artist Eric Dunn. She's also edited 3 anthologies exploring themes in mythology and completed postgraduate studies in ancient history, focusing on the magic and religion of classic and late antique world. She lives in Wales, UK, with her partner and a black cat. That's cool. Very cool. Following publication of Solf Invictus, the God Tarot, Nick almost immediately began work on this deck with Kim, while also expanding his artwork into different media on larger scale. With a keen interest in folklore of the British Isles, he wrote and illustrated Celtic saints of the Western Britain. We were talking about that a little earlier. Sounds amazing. And moved to live and work in Glastonbury, UK, surrounded by his Arthurian history and esoteric mystery, where he produces spiritual and goddess-themed artwork. So glad to have you both here for this fun event. And so finally, the sister deck to 2007 Solf Invictus is finally here. So the circle must finally feel complete.
Yes. Yeah, it's nice to have the complementing things out there. It feels good.
Yeah, I'm sure it does, and it's a beautiful complement. It really is. It's an amazing deck, and so within that, I know you both have storied histories of your tarot stories. I'm always interested to learn about tarot stories. So I'll tell you what, Nick, what's your tarot story? How did you get into to this whole thing?
I think it's when I was a teenager. I was trying to remember back, and I think the first deck I got was the Arthurian one, the John Matthews Arthurian one, which I think probably wasn't the easiest first deck to have.
Right.
As it's quite specific in its style, and it didn't stick to the kind of the more Rider-Waite interpretations that I became familiar with afterwards. So I remember picking that up, I think, in a charity shop and kind of starting from there, really. And then I started making my own decks for things that I was interested in, series of books and TV series. I'd make my own little handmade cards before we properly got into doing a real deck.
Yeah, that's really neat. It's funny how you mentioned you came in a secondhand shop or a used shop like that. So many people's tarot journeys start that way. It keeps repeating, which almost means it's kind of like it's a meant to be kind of thing. There's some kind of synchronicity in there. And the tarot, creating your own decks. Actually, when I was starting to learn tarot myself, I did a stick figure deck to better learn. I still have it somewhere, but it's a great way to kind of like make those things your own.
Yeah,
so cool.
And definitely, like I think once you start applying, if you apply the tarot symbols to things that you're familiar with, like a series or a movie, then it helps make the connections in your head.
It does completely. Completely. Now, Kim, have you had a similar experience? What's your experience like? Your tarot journey?
So I started when I was very young. I was traveling with my parents for a holiday, and we stopped at a service station. And I was just looking around the shops. I was only 9 years old. And I noticed this book, which was 99p. I had like £1 as my pocket money. And it was Stuart Kaplan's Fortune Telling with Tarot Cards, I think. And
Really?
I don't know why I picked it up, but it just looked really interesting to 9-year-old me. So I bought it, and I just spent the rest of that holiday absolutely fascinated with this book and just looking at the images in it, and kind of, I did what Nick did, but I didn't make them into cards. I just drew pictures on plain paper and stuff and coloured them in. And I didn't really start properly reading beyond the study until I was about 12 or 13, when I got my first deck, which I'm ashamed to say was not as good as John Matthews' Arthurian Tarot. I've got it here, in fact. It was it came free with a teenage magazine, the Sugar Mystic Tarot.
I've never heard of that. Sugar Mystic.
90s. It's wonderful.
Sugar Mystic.
It's brilliant. Just look at this lovers card.
What?
How 90s is that?
That is very nice. That's almost like Matrix and movies.
Yeah, exactly. So I read for like all my school friends with this deck for years and years, and it just kind of escalated from there, really. But I guess it properly took off when I hit 16 and discovered tarot forums online, and just contacting and discussing all the time with tarot people around the world really inspired me and helped me come to my own conclusions and challenged me. And I think that was the most formative part of my tarot journey, was other people.
That's interesting. It kind of leads me into another question, really, with it's changed so much, the acceptance of divination in general and tarot. What's been your experience since you both kind of been in this industry for a while now? How it's shifted, how it's changed. Kim, I'll start with you again there with that.
So I think the biggest change that I've seen, because when I started at 9, it was 1993, and the internet was a very, very new thing. Hardly anyone had it. Certainly I didn't have it. No one I knew had it. So the accessibility and the ability to connect with other people just wasn't there. Not that I was aware of. I think there were, little magazines and newsletters that people were publishing at the time, but they were very much a small niche press. So the biggest change to me is the internet and the rise of social media as well. Back when I started, you wouldn't have had live unboxing videos on YouTube. You wouldn't have had this. You wouldn't have had online classes or easy access to, tarot organizations. It's just kind of blown up because of the internet and social media, I think. And it's really a wonderful thing, because now I'm seeing people younger than me who are, loads of them are really into tarot. Like it's just become so popular and so fashionable, which when I was a teenager, it really wasn't popular and fashionable. I was the weirdo for liking it. So it's really nice to see it getting appreciation and giving young people artistic expression as well, because so many of them go into tarot artistry, which is wonderful.
That's interesting. Nick, as an artist, I'm sure you use that. It's a perfect template, really, for artistic expression, really, because you have some things that are more not fixed, but you have different structure, different symbols, and then the artist can take that and just run with it. So, how do you feel the industry's changed since you've been in?
I think pretty much exactly what Kim said, I didn't have the internet as a teenager, so it was a case of try and find those little independent stores or those little mind, body, spirit fairs, and or even just, in your general bookstore, look for that one little bookshelf where you could find books about this kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And then since then, with the internet and social media, it has just completely, I mean, even from the time when we published Solf Invictus to now is completely different. You didn't have social media, kind of all the different avenues that you can speak to people.
It really is amazing, all the venues that you have just to communicate and learn and connect, and with stores in general too. Like even the larger stores like a Barnes and Noble or Wooderson's. I mean, they have whole shelves now.
Yeah. I mean, it's gone from that one little shelf to like a whole section.
Yeah, it's really really amazing. I couldn't leave. Kim, you made a point earlier about that. You stopped at a gas station. I can't let that go for a moment. You stopped at a gas station. Was that it?
That was literally. It was really mundane. There was no magic to it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's a really cool story, actually. Like, it seems like out of place. Like, why would that book be there if not for you? I don't know. That's how my mind works. Maybe it's kind of like all.
Service stations in the UK are different to gas stations in the US.
Okay,
I think
right.
in the UK, it's like
ignorance on that. Yes, right.
It's like a service stop where you've got several restaurants or cafes like McDonald's and Burger King, as well as news agents where they sell magazines and books and random stuff like travel supplies, people traveling. So they often have very odd collections of books on sale. I don't know the rhyme or reason for the choice of books they have.
What I think it is here. You have this Stuart Kaplan's a book next to the quart of oil, and that's
it's basically like that, actually. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah,
something like that. So now for one of the reasons we're here is Pistis Sophia, of course. So like now, what with all that, what inspired you to create outside of the doing the follow up to Solf Invictus to create the Pistis Sophia?
Say that one, Nick.
Well, yeah, we definitely wanted to complement Solf Invictus. I don't think when we were doing it we had the intention to do a goddess deck because there were already the goddess decks out there. But the more we thought about it, the more they didn't satisfy what we wanted from a goddess deck, which is all that research that we poured into it.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And each of the majors only deck for now, and what each image is then followed up, or beautiful, or followed up by just this very incredibly well researched and well written text that goes with it. And so as far as your motivation, then Kim, how would you what? Probably along similar lines, I'd imagine.
Very similar, yes. As Nick said, we didn't originally intend to create another goddess tarot for the market, but it was twofold for us, for me, I think. The first being that we wanted to provide something which had an academic and scholarly foundation, yet was expressed in layman's terms, so anyone can pick it up. And although it's written by an academic, it's hopefully accessible. But at the same time, I very much felt that personally it would be nice if we complemented the first deck. We explored the divine masculine, and now we explored the divine feminine. So kind of had two different sides. And we both really love tarot, both really love mythology. And clearly we just felt that we wanted to work together again and create together again. So this was our chance.
Yeah, that's amazing. And actually, as maybe you don't realize, actually Solf Invictus was one of our first, if not our very first, tarot deck that Schiffer and Red Feather published back in 2007. It was one of our intros into the whole tarot world. It's been quite a journey since then. So I'm thankful that we're here with our original creators, how we, the genesis of how we got into this in the first place, in part, is because of you two. So really, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Really cool. Right. So it's really been incredible.
Yeah, we'll just take credit for the whole thing.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Why not? So with this deck, then, what did you enjoy most about creating the creative process? Of it together. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I was thinking back to the creative process and how we'd discuss our ideas initially, and then Kim would draw like stick figure drawings.
We've kept none of them, luckily.
And it would be
they did. Right.
It'd be then up to me to kind of interpret what those stick drawings were. And then after that, we'd be then enlisting our friends to pose in various strange positions for the cards. So all sorts. I've still got some of the photos, I think, of people holding up lanterns or.
Wow, that's cool. That sounds like a bonus material book or something, or some kind of other thing. The stick figure drawings and the photos and all that for the super fans. That can be for them, right? We'll see.
They will never see the light of day. Just
if you have anything to say about it, you'll never see the light of day. Yeah. So, how about for you, Kim? What did you enjoy most about?
I always really loved seeing what Nick produced from our insane discussions and rants and debates and my stick figure drawings, because usually it would be a case of us sitting down several evenings in a row, just kind of, it almost felt like we were just screeching at each other incomprehensibly as we had these loads of research to try and encapsulate into a kind of pitch for each other to say, oh, here's what I think this card should be. And somehow eventually Nick saw through the mess and produced this wonderful artwork. And I was always astounded by that. So yeah, seeing it come to life in his hands was my favorite bit about it. Yeah.
That's neat. Were there ever any points where you're drawing the stick figure and you're just like, he's never going to understand this?
Every time I thought he would never.
Time? Right. He will never understand what I am drawing right here, right now. Yeah. And somehow it came through. That's a important, artistic partnership. That's fantastic. For some reason, Elton John and Bernie Taupin popped into my head for some reason, that collaborative thing. I'm not sure why. It's not necessarily related, but you might not think that one thing goes to the other, and then boom, it happens and it's magic. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
When that comes together. So now, as far as tarot is concerned, do both of you read, or what do you read? For other yourself, Kim, I'll start with you.
So I used to read professionally, but I stopped about 5 or 6 years ago to focus on other aspects of my career. But I did find it very rewarding to read professionally, because the types of questions you get, the ways that the card meanings manifest, the types of clients that I met was really, really wonderful. And I think I learned a lot from being a professional reader. But these days I tend to just read for myself and friends, mostly when it comes to big kind of life decisions, the points at which you're at a crossroads and you need to lay your brain out on the table in front of you so you can examine all the consequences and possibilities and have a kind of objective look at what you're actually feeling, rather than being surrounded by your own issues and other things that are clouding your mind. So I use it less for divination and more as a decision-making tool. And also as a fun game at parties.
Right.
Super serious, honest.
No. They have an amazing ability to just unlock different aspects, of yourself, and just be kind of the sounding board almost sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is really, really amazing. So Nick, do you read, or what's your?
So I've never read professionally. I do occasional readings for. I've got one friend who always comes back for them. He lives abroad now, and he's always like, "Do me a reading." So I'll do that kind of remotely, and then just do the kind of occasional reading for myself. more of like a confirmation, like, is this the right thing? Just give me 3 cards, boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's yeah. Just that, like kind of like checking yourself, kind of.
Exactly. Which goes to what I was saying earlier about just it's a good way just to check in with yourself, too, if nothing else. And there's always a wealth of information just in one card many times, that you can just kind of really dive into. So as far as within the process here, how do you both kind of like decide what you're going to do next? I mean, are you spirit moved, or how do you really come up with like the next project really for both of that? Nick, I'll start with you.
Usually it's like you're coming to the end of a project and you're like, right, that's it, I'm not doing another one now, that's it.
Right.
At least for a while, and then by the time it's finished, there's already another idea there, and it's like, okay, let's start on this one. No breaks. It just seems to happen. At least it's sequential, and they're not all at the same time.
That's good. That's merciful. Okay. Right. That happens her way. Yeah. Kim, how about for you?
I unfortunately did not have that same mercy on myself, and I often ended up with more than one project on the go, which was interesting in and of itself. I love being busy and having projects. So for me, my creative process is much more intellectual. It's very, very cerebral. It's based on things I find interesting academically, and I tend to kind of follow the research threads that I'm identifying, and then kind of taking them to their different conclusions on in different aspects. So a project might, for instance, look at 3 different things, and I'll follow those 3 different things at the same time, which isn't always conducive to a work-life balance. But yeah, I don't feel spirit moved like many creators do. I think because my creative process is very much based in academia and research, there's not as much room for that in the process. But I do often find weird synchronicities happening nonetheless. Things suddenly pop out, books suddenly make themselves known to me through conversation or recommendations. Things start getting noticed that I hadn't thought about before or noticed before, and they all just come together. And that's kind of for me.
It's amazing how that happened. I'm sorry, I didn't even talk.
No, carry on.
I was moved by the spirit to respond before you were done. Sorry. So just about just how like the right books at the right time or the right circumstances at the right time just kind of happen. I know myself and many people have had books that just are there. They're just there. The perfect book is there. I've had books actually almost pop off a shelf because it's like, this is the one you're supposed to do. And so it's neat when those things kind of come together. Kim, as you were talking there, I was kind of like interested. We started at the very beginning to talk about, where you're both at, and what is it about the kind of like being in the UK that inspires you? I know, Nick, that's inspiration for you. And I'm going off script now. We're being inspiration for you. But it's really fascinating. I'm feeling some kind of like there's a connection to that place too. Is that so? So Nick, could you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back as well to our childhood and time in university when Kim and I were pagan society president and secretary, and we'd take people on trips to various sacred sites around the UK, mostly in the kind of southwest region. There's a lot, you've got Stonehenge, Avebury, Glastonbury, lots of places in Cornwall. And I think that kind of connection to the landscape has always tied in with our interest in the mythology as well.
Interesting. Kim, would you kind of agree with that? And what was your
There's a lot of history as well, and mythology and folklore, which is very much tied to the British landscape. And the different threads of that are absolutely fascinating to find, especially when you realize how much they intermingle with when the Romans came in, for instance, and started Romanizing, the Celtic deities. Like Sulis becoming Sulis Minerva, for instance, and her holy baths being founded in the city of Bath, which is another sacred site we often visited. So there's a lot of history that encourages both research and devotion here. There's a quite a big trend currently in the pagan movement for people to kind of try and connect with deities they have a blood connection with, or a family connection, or a genealogical connection. And here it's kind of been a melting pot, really. The British Isles are just full of everyone else's gods, and it's wonderful. It's like they all decided that they wanted a piece of this place, and welcomed them with open arms in some cases. So yeah, there's also that history of conflict as well, which has its own mythology and folklore that it created. Mythologies around particular Irish deities, for instance, which some people believe became or were overshadowed by Christian saints, and the way that interacts and creates a culture, and the way that culture might die out with it or continue through it is just amazing, really fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's an interesting trend, as you mentioned, as far as their research and devotion to the blood connections like that. But I think when you're in a what I describe as kind of like a holy place like the UK. I haven't been there much, just a few times, but it's really imbued in the environment. Somehow it's kind of ineffable. Hard to explain, really. But having that multiplicity of traditions that kind of like converge together. Maybe that's the key. Maybe that's why it is so charged. Maybe spiritually charged there. So yeah, I wanted to explore that a little bit. So thanks for helping to illuminate that aspect of things. So now I have to ask, really, what lies ahead for both of you? What's next in the grand journey here? Nick, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I've got a book coming out shortly with Avalonia, which is called Breaking Chains, The Evolution of the Black Madonna. And that's something I've been researching over the last few years, and something that I completed this year during our quarantine, finally. It's looks-wise, it's in the same vein as my previous book on the Celtic Saints. It's I've written the book, but I've also put my paintings in there, so it's kind of takes away from the heavy academic side a little bit with some pretty pictures. The book is discussing some of the meanings behind the European Black Madonna statues of the Middle Ages, and what different people think the significance is. But also I'm taking a lot of focus on the diasporic communities of the Caribbean, Central America, South America, and how they use Black Madonnas.
Fascinating. That's an interest of mine as well. And I look forward to that too. So I'll put it on my two get list for when this comes out. Kim, what's up for you next?
So I've actually been taking a break.
Yeah, the breaks are okay too, and that's one answer.
So I've had a project on the go, or more than one project sometimes, since 2004, non-stop. And when 2016 came, and I ended up kind of really pushing myself very hard to finish. I think it was 3 projects at the same time, 2 of which were books. I realized I needed to take that break because I was starting to burn out. My father passed away in 2016 as well. And that very much changed, I think, how I interacted with the world and with myself, with my inner landscape. So that facilitated that break. And I said to myself that for now I'm happy just having that plateau. But then a few months ago, I started I started getting the simmerings of something bubbling in my brain. It's not tarot related for the first time ever. It's not mythology related either, really, although mythology will be involved, and it's much more inspired by I'll say feminism, but that's just the starting point of it. I don't want to mention anything just in case it doesn't get off the ground, but
right.
yeah, there is something there, and it's going to be very, very different to what I've done before. So I'm quite interested to see where the challenge takes me. But it will be very, very much in my usual style of academic research for laymen, for non-academics. So,
Okay, yeah. Well, that's exciting in both respects, you know. That sounds like yours is far more fully formed there, Nick, so that's exciting. And then whatever is happening for you, then I want to follow that too. So I got two now. I think I'll follow up on. So as far as social media, which here we are on social media right now, you know, are you both on social media? Can your followers contact you, interact with you in any way?
Yeah, for each of the decks, we've got a Facebook page, so we'd love it if people followed along on those. So if you just search for Pistis Sophia, the Goddess Tarot, and Solf Invictus, the God Tarot, there'll be pages there. And hopefully we can chat to some of the people who have been using the deck since it came out. I've also got an art page myself, Nick Phillips Sacred Art, and that's on Instagram as well as Facebook.
Wonderful. Came out bad for you.
Same answer, but not the art page.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not very interesting on social media.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That works. So I'd like to open up to some questions here. Facebook here. We had just one from Michelle. Just a hi from Michelle Welch. You know, a luminary here in the Mind Body Spirit world. So hi, Michelle. And other questions filter in, so this will be on the Red Feather Mind Body Spirit page, and so as questions come up, we can answer them, you know, as we go as well. Yeah. So I think we're gonna wrap it up here then for today. Okay. So then a big thank you here to Kim Huggens and Nick Phillips, and thanks to everyone who tuned in to our live event. It was fun as always, fascinating. I'm still fascinated by the whole a couple of things. Well, I'll answer your questions offline. So thanks to everyone who tuned in. It was really great. Pistis Sophia Goddess Tarot is available on redfeathermbs.com and wherever Mind Body Spirit items are sold. And many thanks to all who tuned in, and to you too as well. And everybody have a beautiful day. So,
okay. Great.
Bye now.
Bye.